Hello, friends. Crystal here, your Vibrant BF, and welcome back to week 2 of regulation through retrograde. So, I have been repurposing some content that I've accumulated over several years of literal certification for neurolinguistic, which is basically understanding the subconscious mind, as well as just lived experience in my 40 something years of being here on planet Earth. And I've been sharing little nuggets over on my IG. So if you're not over there, please pop over and watch little daily drops of wisdom on how to better recalibrate our systems while we are navigating retrograde. It's good forever, like all the time, but it's especially good while we are realigning, revisiting, recalibrating during Mercury retrograde. So when we come together, what do? We always ground. Oh, look, my language. It's that retrograde. We always ground in this moment. So if it is safe for you to do so, please roll your shoulders back, close your eyes, and let's take a couple deep breaths in. So we will breathe in for about 4 seconds. We'll hold for 2 and we'll exhale for 6. So let's go. Deep breath in, hold, and exhale. Let's do it one more time. Deep breath in, hold, and exhale. Now, the reason why I ensure to do this whenever we come together, because I want to emphasize the importance of grounding in this moment. I don't know what kind of week you've had, day you've had, hour you've had. And when you are taking in new information, listening, growing, expanding, it's important to have your body in coherence. I've been chatting a lot about creating clarity, coherence, having more clarity with coherence in the body, mind, body, spirit. But we do that. One of the ways is through our breath and really expanding our lungs and really just allowing ourselves a moment to be present in this moment. Many of us are already thinking about next, what's next, what's next, what's next, the ongoing list. And it's really important to just sit in this moment where you are and ground the energy, especially as we come together collectively. Now, this is something you can do throughout your day when life is lifing, right? It is a lot. There's a lot to maintain and do, and depending on what season you are in your life, it can be exponentially hard and arduous and a lot to navigate through. But when you give yourself space to breathe, just taking 90 seconds to breathe, it can really help to reset your brain cells, open up more neural paths, and be able to take in new information and be able to think clearer. So that is why it's so important that I really focus on having that time together with you, with grounding and setting the intention. So I've been sharing, like I said, over on IG, and I really wanted to touch on some highlights that I really love to reiterate. Right? We're always talking about we're repeating. So that is how we grow and learn and get better and expand, is through repetition. So one of the things I just recently shared was what I like to call the 4 R's of alignment or recalibration. And the first R is what I call restlessness. There's going to be something that doesn't feel right, right? Like maybe you've been going on with life and all of a sudden you're like, what is this all about? Why am I here? What am I doing? Right? It's just this moment of like, what is the purpose? And then you come up against resistance. And that could look like, why would I think that? I have a beautiful life, or I have a great life, or on paper it's well, but something feels out of balance, something feels out of whack. And then what do? And then you have what is what is it? The release of letting go of all the expectations of what you thought you should do, or the identity of the old you that was maybe limiting beliefs or fear based or playing small, things like that, to the last one, receive this new kind of upgraded, elevated, expansive way of thinking, doing, living, and just choosing how you show up in this life, embodying the identity of the person that you are being, that you are embodying, that you desire. These 4 R's also go with the biology of change and how when we are recalibrating and rewiring our systems, there is a physiological change that is taking place because, again, everything vibrates. Everything's at a frequency. So if we are used to more dense, heavier emotions, they are a heavier frequencies, lower vibrations. And when we are starting to shed those weights, if you will, beliefs, limiting beliefs, whatever that may be, it is going to feel unnerving to the body, but we have to remember that the feeling is fleeting. The feeling is fleeting, and it's okay to feel uncomfortable and unsure and maybe a little anxiety because it's the unknown. But what we have to do is make sure we are telling our body, our nervous system, that we are safe. We are safe to receive more. We are safe to do something different. We are safe to think something else, right? And being able to receive new information and then digesting, integrating, and saying, you know what, I used to believe this, but now that I have grown and experienced, and I now am shifting my beliefs, my identity, what I do, how I act in this way. And that's totally normal. And as humans, that is really part of our evolution of always, not always, but choosing to live in our highest vibration, our highest frequency, our highest timeline. And I say highest, not to say that you're better, but I say highest, your fullest, your deepest, your rooted alignment. You know, I've watched people share online in workshops, in person, whatever, things I've purchased, things I've signed up for, whatever. And just the imperfection and the realness of life. Like they'll be sharing some really great information and you can hear their kids crying or playing in the background. They may be teaching a class and you can hear the traffic going by, or they will have tongue ties. And so when you see just the realness of humanity and not trying to have these super curated spaces and talks, and it gives a realness, it gives an authenticity that we need. And we talked about before our highest frequency being that of authenticity, us being our full self, us being like, okay, I'm trying to record and there's all this going on or whatever. And it's okay, right? Like, let's stay focused and get the message across of what we're sharing to add value, to help people truly start to lean into their own intuition, to understand the power of the subconscious mind, to have safety in the nervous system, by identifying and embodying the identity of who it is that you really are, a version of you that you are aspiring to be, that is available. And all you have to do is just to shed those heavier, denser emotions to be able to align into your higher frequencies. All right. So one of the things I wanted to share, which I think is absolutely so important to remember, that our brains are like holographic filing systems. We are constantly projecting out what we know to be true, what we thought to be true, what we've seen to be true, right? Not to necessarily say it's the only way, but this is what we've known. And so we're going to keep projecting out these examples. And it's really important for our brain to have examples of things that we do want. So we need proof, right? So even if you haven't experienced maybe a very loving relationship, you're like, all I know is that I get cheated on, my heart gets broke, it's so hard, blah, blah, blah. That is actually true. That's fine. Two truths can exist. And you can also say, you know what, I am aligning into the person that has a beautiful relationship, beautiful friendships, whatever that may be. And even though I haven't have anything stored in my own personal experience, I have seen it out. I know it does exist. And so I'm going to choose to start looking from that lens and start giving my brain some data to say, no, it's okay. Even though we haven't had this, I know it exists. It's just like, even though maybe I haven't been on a cruise, I know they exist and I see these pictures and it feels like it's going to be really great. So I'm just giving my brain some information, my subconscious some information, so that it can project out these examples and show like, oh, okay, this is normal. Yeah, we can have this. This is attainable, because we have to give it proof. Our brain's like, no, you can't move abroad. No one's ever done that. Well, no, actually people have done that. No, you can't quit your job. No, people have done that as well. So we have to give our brains proof, our subconscious, so that it can be like, we are safe to do these things, even if we haven't personally had them and experienced them. One of the things I really wanted to talk about today was the 290s. And it's so fascinating. You know, when you hear things, you learn things, and you're like forever shifted, it changes the trajectory of your life. That is how it was when I realized that 90% of life is what we make it, how we choose to respond and react to. Like the event plus is our response or our reaction equals the outcome. So E plus R equal O. But realizing that 90% were incredible odds, like that is so much power. And that only 10% of life is outside of our control. Being a Black woman born and predominantly raised in the US, that was beautiful news, because I was told, indoctrinated into societal constructs, that I'm the most unprotected, safe, just very lowest, kind of at the bottom of the totem pole of life, especially in America as a Black woman. But yet and still, that's not true. that was just a small fraction. That was just what I had seen, what I had known, what I had been indoctrinated to subconsciously and consciously. And so when I realized, no, 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 even with these social structures, that's only 10%. I only have to subscribe to, things that are really outside of my control. For example, I am a female. And if you're in America, a lot of birthright things have been switched over, Roe v. Wade. Those affect me. That is outside of my control, right? That is a real thing. But I get to choose how I view it. One, I can live in states that don't really subscribe to that and allow for healthcare for women, or move out of the country where that is not a thing, or whatever. You see what I'm saying? Like, I can still choose where I put that energy and how I allow it to affect me. And do I live in a victim or victor mindset? Now, I don't take for granted the privilege that I have, even as a Black woman in America, but predominantly raised, blah, 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 blah. Right? Because you can argue both sides, whether you can or you can't. You're right. But I'm choosing to live in that 90% of empowerment and victor mentality, and understanding that anything I desire, anything that I believe is available to me, and I'm worthy of it just right now in this place at this moment in time. Even without having maybe a track record. Like, I don't come from generational wealth, but that doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Doesn't mean I can't create it. Things like that. So 90% is our response, our reaction to life. 10% is outside of our control, which is incredible power. So if you're not happy, if you're not thriving, if you're not feeling in alignment, if you don't have coherence in your body, you have the power, the autonomy to choose something else, because 90% of it's in your favor. Now, a lot of us believe it's vice versa, but it's not. We have 90%. Another one of the 90s I found out was we have our emotions, right? Energy in motion. And that when we experience an emotion, whatever it may be, let's use maybe a lower or one that's activating, triggering, that it takes our bodies 90 seconds to metabolize, basically to run through our system. Just if we were to be what could be offended, and we just take it, hold it, not subscribe either way, like rude, mean, happy, sad, just let that emotion ride out. It takes 90 seconds for it to metabolize through our body. You heard me, 90 seconds. And it's like, there's no way, because she made this comment and it was so rude. We gave that, it could have been uncalled for, could have been rude, could have been, right? And then we reignite that feeling over and over again for the next hour, 2 hours, day, week, month. Think about people who've living with grudges for years. They just keep ruminating, reactivating, ruminating, reactivating. Think about Mercury and retrograde, we're in that again. So how can we repattern those thoughts? Well, one of the ways, if we catch ourselves just kind of stuck in this cycle and we're looping through low vibrations, or we're reigniting heavy, dense emotions and we're just replaying it, we can literally stop it. We can stop it by multiple ways. We can literally snap our fingers to kind of change our thinking and say, what are we thinking about? We can literally walk backwards. It starts to reverse our brain chemistry of how we're thinking about things. We can do some deep breaths. We can go out and ground. There's ways that we can help our body metabolize it and truly let it go. And then make a choice. Really just say, 90% of this I get to control. That comment I feel was out of pocket. Could be true, but great. I'm going to choose to look at it as that is somebody who's not aligned with me. And I'm glad I know that now. But I am not going to give them that energy. Energy vampires are real. I'm not going to give them that energy. That's me. That's me voluntarily giving them, saying, hey, keep stabbing me again. Like, what? No, I'm going to take the knife and I'm going to walk away. Right? You have no more access to me. I'm cutting that off. I'm letting it move through my body. I'm not holding it. I'm not ruminating. I'm not looping it. I'm not going to just repeat these cycles that are not helping anything. Why would I use my energy on stressing and worrying when I can use it for daydreaming and imagining a life and living in joy and expansive and having family and friends and people that would never do these things to me? I choose to put my energy into those spaces. Right? And those places. And I choose to ruminate on that. Like, can you imagine when we're making 30, 40, 50, 60K a month and we're living here and we're doing this and we're creating memories and I'm having dinner parties, and like that feels so much more expansive and exciting versus being like, I can't believe she said that to me. I can't believe she did that to me. I can't believe they did that. I can't believe that happened to me. I can't, like, It's just such a waste of energy. And I know things happen and they're shitty and they're wrong and they're unfair, and all of that is true. And 90% is how we choose to see it, 90% is our reaction to it. And I refuse to give people who could not care about me any kind of energy. You will not have my precious time, my precious energy. It's too important to me, right? That's something that I personally make a choice to do. And yes, I'm human and I have my moments. I'm like, ooh, but now that you know that it only takes 90 seconds for our bodies to metabolize this kind of reaction and have that energy move through, you know that you can rewire those thoughts and start to ruminate on positive things and daydream and imagine, right? Our imagination will always beat out our willpower or what we think, because that is the play space. That is the expansive space. That's where things are like, we can open, we can think more, we have more bandwidth, and allow for more clarity in the configuration, clarity in our body, coherence in our body. So 90% of life is what we choose to see and how we view it and how we react to it. And 90 seconds is how long it takes for an emotion to metabolize through our body. So I want to hear in the comments some ways that you have been recalibrating, baby steps, right? It's just being intentional. Sometimes you just think about what you're thinking about and being like, I'm in a bad mood. I know sometimes I'll be just kind of hanging out, and I'll be like, wait, why am I annoyed? What was I just thinking about? I was thinking about when I went to lunch last week and this happened. I didn't speak up and I feel, okay, well, that's okay. This is a learning opportunity. I'm going to take it. Let me metabolize it. I'm not going to give too much energy to it. And I'm going to breathe it out. I'm going to let it go. And now where can I put that energy of thinking at? Ooh, I want to think about daydreaming about a trip. I want to take a trip to Italy, and then maybe we can get a villa, and who can I invite? And that feels a lot more expensive than thinking about that stupid lunch I went to where she was out of pocket saying crazy stuff. Like, a choice. It starts with a choice. And then we put an action behind it, and it's just intentional, day to day, thought by thought. Progress, not perfection. Remembering that the feeling is fleeting and that at the end of the day, everything is working out in my highest alignment. Why? Because I say it is. Because whether it is or it isn't, I'm right. Nothing is impossible. Even the word says, I'm possible. That is an Audrey Hepburn quote, another one of my favorites. But drop in the comments something that you are taking away from this episode. I hope you're following me over on IG for little daily nuggets. And I will see you next week. See, Mercury retrograde. I'm going to leave it. I will see you next week. Bye-bye.